Hey guys, my name's Adam, and I'm going to be going over my presentation today. I apologize in advance if I sound a little under the weather, so please bear with me. So today we're going to go break down cellular respiration, the process that turns the food that we eat into ATP, our body's main energy source. We'll follow one glucose molecule and we'll kind of see how much ATP it can add up to. So, question on everyone's mind, what is cellular respiration? So it's cellular respiration is how our bodies convert glucose into ATP using oxygen. It occurs in a couple stages. So it starts off with glycolysis, which breaks glucose into smaller molecules, as well as acetyl CoA, which prepares it for the next step, which is the citric acid cycle, which roughly extracts the high energy electrons, and then lastly we'll finish off with the electron transport chain. So by the end of this process, one glucose molecule can generate a lot of ATP. And I don't want to ruin the surprise, but we'll talk about it later. So firstly, glycolysis. This takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell, and one glucose, here it is, one glucose molecule will actually divide up, or not divide up, but it turns into two pyruvate molecules. Overall, you'll spend 2 ATP, but you'll be gaining a net of 2 ATP, if that makes sense, because you'll get 4 in the end, so you get a profit of 2 ATP. Next phase is the acetyl CoA formation. This one's a fun one. You don't necessarily get any ATP from the jump, but that pyruvate needs to be converted into acetyl CoA. This happens typically in the mitochondria. Each pyruvate will lose one carbon, which is released as CO2, as you can see here. And then the rest of this will kind of connect to that to make acetyl CoA. During this step, we produce 2 NADH. Next step is the citric acid cycle. So now that we have acetyl CoA, it enters the citric acid cycle, which takes place in the mitochondrial matrix. For each glucose molecule, the cycle runs twice, which will produce the 2 ATPs, 6 NADH, and 2 FADH2, which will be used later. This step extracts the most high energy molecules, which will be converted into ATP in the final step, which is the electron transport chain. So in this phase itself, no ATP is technically created, but not necessarily, but other molecules are being converted into ATP that we've already had from before, if that makes sense. So to break it down, NADH and FADH to donate electrons to proteins in the inner mitochondrial membrane. These electrons travel through the chain and they release energy. This energy is used to pump protons across the membrane. This will in turn create a gradient. ATP synthase, a special enzyme, uses this advantage of this gradient that we've already created, right? And then it'll generate ATP. Finally, oxygen is the final electron acceptor, combining with electrons and protons to form water. This step itself produces so much ATP. That's why oxygen is vital. Without it, the ETC stops and we can't make enough ATP. So roughly we'll get around 32 ATP. So there's a lot of numbers here. We'll kind of break it down together. So here we can see glycolysis, we only get 2. And citric acid cycle, we only get 2. And I also included the electron transport chain as well. But yeah, so we only get 4, like, just created. And a majority of them are created from here, which is the ATP from NADH, which is 25. And then, yeah, so these are all the numbers here, which gives you a total when you add everything up correctly. So 25, 3, 4 equals 32. And then you still have some NADH and FADH2 plus left over. Or not really, actually. But yeah. So let's go ahead and recap. So glycolysis will create 2 ATP. Let me go back. Citric acid cycle will get you 2 more, gives you a total of 4. NADH overall produces 10. FADH2 overall produces 2. And then once we run it through the ETC, it'll give you a total of 32 ATP. So, why does cellular respiration matter? Why? ATP is the fuel for life. Everything we do, thinking, moving, doing nothing, chilling, running, requires ATP, which you can see right here. And also, without cellular respiration itself, we wouldn't be able to survive. So, yeah, this is a fun process. I hope I didn't rush over everything. Again, apologies, I'm feeling a little under the weather, so if I sound like this. And thank you guys for tuning in. It's perfect timing.